Welcome back, everybody, to TRB Live. Thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday evening, or if you're listening on your favorite podcast app, thank you so much to however you have entered the base today. Welcome in. It's going to be a good time as we close out Ahsoka. We're going to talk all about Part 8, The Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord, written by Dave Filoni and directed by Rick Famuyiwa, the closer now for Star Wars. So we'll talk also about how we felt Rick did compared to how we closed out Mando. But I'm John. With me, as always, is James and Lacey. How's it going, guys? We made it. We are finally here. 8 episodes come and gone, and we are here to close out Ahsoka. So how you feeling? Feeling good?
I don't want to be here. Like, I want it to be one more, you know?
Yeah, I'm not happy this series is over. I felt like it wasn't long enough, which is, you know, a good, I'm sure, problem to have when Lucasfilm's hearing this. Like, I wish it was longer. I wish we got more, and I don't like open-ended cliffhanger situations, which we knew Dave Filoni was going to do to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never thought that we would get any level of, like, the end on this, because they told us that the movie's coming and that it's tied into everything.
Yeah, I remember you had said that. You said that you thought they were going to leave it open-ended, but they were going to have like kind of like a nice ending, which is basically what they did. So you were right.
Yeah. And also, she did.
Morgan Ezra.
John is so happy that he called this. You guys should have seen our chat. He's like arguing, like, but I did this, and look, I said this, and
I said
like,
she died. And Thrawn would say we got enough, we got what we needed out of her, and that's what happened. He didn't kill her, someone else did, Ahsoka did. But spoilers, by the way, to everybody who's joining us live.
But he did say, like, you knew she was gonna die the moment that she like went in and being like, you know, for Dathomir or whatever. You're like, oh, she's gonna die.
Yeah.
When she said that line.
John, in your defense, you could argue that it was Thrawn that sent her to her doom.
That's right. That's right. But good thing for the actress. She only had to wear the black contacts for one day or one, you know, whatever. Creepy. Such a creepy look. Yeah.
Spooky.
Very, very indeed. Yeah, a lot of spookiness in this episode, including confirmation that maybe those troopers weren't dead, but then they became dead after they died.
I think that it's a combo. I really do, because I know people are coming at me being like, you weren't right, you were wrong. They were partially alive.
You? Wow.
Yeah, some people. Not like angry. I made that more angry than it probably was. It was probably like a casual, like, hey, I actually don't think they're dead. And I just
it's interesting because if you look under there, like it looked like they were already decomposing. So it's like they didn't get that way because of a blaster bolt.
The black ones, the death troopers, were legit zombies.
Those guys,
So that's why I'm saying, like, I think they were all dead. And I think what the spell that they gave them was something that made them more like 28 days later and less Night of the Living Dead. Where they're like
that one guy who was choking Sabine was like,
right. It was very like Walking Dead, like aggressive zombies, which by the way, I don't know if anybody I never was scared of zombies until 28 days later, where they're like, oh no, they're going to chase you down and kill you. And you're like, okay, so I can't even get away.
Yeah.
That's where I felt the difference was. I felt like they're all dead, including Enoch or whatever that guy's name is, but they put a spell on them to make them more aggressive and keep coming back.
Yeah. I don't know, but we'll get into all that. But before we do, we just want to thank everybody who is joining us live. And if you are, and you want your comment read on the show and us to talk about that, we have the super chats available. I see we already have a couple. We'll get to those in just a minute. But make sure if you're online, whether that's X or wherever, share our post that we are live. Let's try to fill up this chat here. We got about 100 people in here already. So let's try to get that to 200 maybe. Let's see. Let's close out Ahsoka with a bang and have a good time talking about this thing. So before we get to the final, maybe final forever, who knows what happens with the series, Rosario scale, let's get to a couple of those super chats right now, Lacey.
We totally can, John. All right.
You just make yourself laugh?
Yeah. I don't know why I said it like that. Christian, pick a lane, bro. We were just talking to you on Patreon, and you're Chris on there. You're Christian on here. I can't. All right, Christian, what
He's
up?
Christian. Yeah.
He wrote, bam, first super chat before you even went live. Beat that, Joey, JK. I love you guys. And I've wholly appreciated your coverage throughout the Ahsoka series. Here's to the next one. Cheers. Cheers.
Thanks,
buddy.
Thanks, man. Next is David Probus, Pro-B1 Kenobi. What up, David? Looking so serious in his pick. Allow me to commend you on your efforts today. You've been a worthy opponent. I regret we haven't met face to face. Perhaps now we never shall. I know you because I knew your master, Thrawn. That was so creepy. Like, that was moments in the episode that you're like, he won. He won this one.
Yeah. Also, he's very theatrical and dramatic, Thrawn, with just the way he speaks.
I came out of this being a Thrawn fan, and it surprises me all, guys.
I don't like Thrawn.
You don't like Thrawn?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
And I'll get
such a unique, cool villain, you know.
I'll get into why too, but it has nothing to do with like. I just don't like him. Like I don't like Thrawn. It's not the execution. It's not the look. It's not anything like that.
It's like me with Palpatine. I hate him.
Yeah. Thank you, David.
David, one quick thing about that statement too is that it kind of reminds me a little bit of that moment when Gideon showed up and was like, I know everything about you, your first name, your last name, where you come from, blah blah blah, who you're friends with. Like it was like this thing, I know you because I know your master and all this. It's like, man, like he figured this all out. He knows everything about who he's going up against and wins the day. You know what I mean? He's a big threat right now, but just because of his wisdom or knowledge on the battle that he's participating in. So yeah, very cool line.
I feel like they made it clear though that when Morgan sent over the information, she's like, this is all we have. And it was just like a couple things, but just knowing who her master was, it was like, as soon as someone says that, she's like, oh no. All right, Stubby One. What up, Stubby One? He said 8.5 out of 10 Rosario's final episode, 9.5 out of 10 Rosario for the season. The series sets up so much lore and future installments of Star Wars. I can't wait. Yeah, there is so much here, man. I don't even know where to begin. But we're
Thank you, Stubbs.
Right now.
Thank you.
Like that segue. It's nice to be right. Oh my gosh, Siri's talking to me.
Did Siri say it's nice to be right?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
How did that happen?
I don't know. All right. Well, we are going to get into it now. We're going to get into the Rosario scale. Before
you said overall for this series. That's probably where that came from.
That's it. All right. Let's rate this thing. Let's go through it 0 to 10 and see what we think about part 8. The cleverly titled Jedi, Witch, and the Warlord. I'm going to start this thing off, and I'm giving this one a very good, very high 8.5. I really enjoyed this episode, as I enjoyed all the episodes. I thought it was up there with of the best live-action Star Wars TV. I thought a lot of the action sequences were cool, and just not enough Balin, of course, especially knowing that that's it for Ray Stevenson, which is very bittersweet because he was so good. But we'll see what they do to carry the legacy of that character and honor him as they move forward. But overall, I thought a very good finale. I didn't go into this expecting a closure or an ending. So I think that served me well. I saw a lot of people being upset that they didn't get enough of an ending. But that's, it's Star Wars. Like when Empire Strikes Back ended and you had to wait 3 years to find out if Han Solo lived or died or if Darth Vader was really Luke's father. You got to wait sometimes. I know it's 2023 and we need our info as immediately as possible, but this is a springboard into the next thing, leading to that movie that we hope gets made. But so I'm going 8.5. I really enjoyed it. Very good episode. Now we're going to throw it over to James for his final score of Ahsoka.
I gave it a 9. It was not, in my opinion, the best episode of the season, but very strong episode. The only thing that I think kept me from, parts were a little slow, but I think one of the biggest things is just like moving the mouse, and seeing how much is left and going, they're not even going to talk about Baylan and Shin and some of this other stuff. And I'm like, what is happening? And just like, I understand it is what it is, but it was the first time when, John, you say pretty often, not enough Baylan or not enough of X character. It was the first time that I was like really amped to figure out more about what was going on and felt let down because that was not in that finale.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it was a great scene, but I gotta say it, I was disappointed that we had already heard his last lines in the last episode and didn't even know it.
I agree. Good point,
I was
too.
like,
he had
man.
0 lines in this one, as did Shin, but she will carry on. But yeah, a great score again, a 9. We threw 9s around like it was nothing on this series, which wasn't the case with a lot of the other ones. So, Lacey, your final score for Ahsoka, Part 8, lay it on us.
John spoiled it. It's a 9.
I spoiled
it? Did he spoil it?
No, I
he said we've been throwing away 9s like they're nothing. Yeah. He's like, so Lacey, what did you score?
That doesn't mean you were going to give a 9.
A 9. I'm back at a 9. So I thought this episode was great. It was a solid finish to the series. It wasn't my favorite episode. I didn't give it like a 10, but I thought it was a very good 9. I think, as John was saying, some people are unhappy that, they didn't give us all the answers. I felt like it was like too many questions. I feel like there's a balance, pun intended, of when you're going into a series or something and you're at the end of it having 1 or 2 cliffhangers, but not leaving it to the point that you're like, okay, so like nothing is resolved. Like nothing happened. It's just everybody's in this like known moment of like, what happens now? And my anxiety was peaked. And so that's why I gave it a 9, because I thought that the lightsaber and action sequences and like moments between characters were so great, except I don't know why Hera didn't hug Ezra. So weird. But besides that, I thought it was a really good series. One of my favorites.
That's interesting that you bring that up, because I was going to talk about that later. They cut away before there's any really sort of conclusion to that greeting.
Yeah.
But I also wonder if maybe she has some issues with Ezra that we aren't fully aware of, that maybe she didn't want to run up and hug him. She had this sort of
bitter?
I don't know about bitter, but she definitely had this look on her face of shock and a lot of wave of emotions. And people in real life react way differently to things than they like to portray them in movies and TV. And it could have been that, or it could have been the fact that maybe there is something there that we need to unpack when we revisit these characters, that maybe it's not the most glowing of, I'm so glad to see you. So we'll see. I don't think Dave Filoni would skip out.
Or it's at a what cost thing,
Yeah,
he comes back, but nobody else does. So Sabine didn't come back. Ahsoka didn't come back.
Right. And he had Sabine and Ezra hug. He had Ahsoka and Ezra hug. And maybe those were a little subdued considering the spectacle of how much it took to reunite and the low percentage chance that Ezra probably thought he would be found. But he had those hugs happen. So I don't think he would have skipped out on that hug. It's making me think back to like, I can't believe that Leia didn't hug Chewie. It's like, all right, that remember when that was our biggest problem as Star Wars fans in 2015. so now we're back to that. I'm okay. I'm okay that a hug not happening is our biggest problem.
We also talk about how Ezra was wearing that stormtrooper armor, which probably smelled like death and decay and just disgustingness. Like maybe that's why she didn't hug him. She was like, yo, you reek like death.
Right.
Yeah, the only one that went up was the character without a nose.
Yeah.
Right.
No, interesting thought though on the maybe she has issues with Ezra, because I think that could be a cool little storyline in the future where we've speculated here on the show that Jason might go under the tutelage of Ezra,
right?
And that could come at a cost of Hera being like, I don't want him to, especially to you, the guy who, I lost Kanan because, of this or that or whatever.
There's got to be some internal conflict in Star Wars, and it doesn't look like we have it anymore. Like there's resolution between Ahsoka and Sabine. Sabine and Ezra are good. Ezra and Ahsoka are good. There's got to be someone who has an issue with somebody, and that could be it. But we'll see. We'll see. Which is cool about this because there's a lot to speculate on, and we'll do that towards the end. But our scores then, James, TRB, us three, an 8.8. So a lot of... Yeah, there it is. 8.8. A lot of Rosario on the board. We thank you, Rosario, for gracing us with your presence this whole season. And then we flip it over to our patrons, who evened it out. An 8.8 for the patrons. So we are one with the Force, balancing the Force between TRB and our patrons. Great scores across the board. 8.8. Amazing. So let's get to a couple of comments out of the Resistance base. Checking in is Commander Sean Santarud, who said, it's a solid 9. I knew they weren't going to wrap up all the story details, but what we got was pretty awesome and surprising that Thrawn and Ezra escaped, but Ahsoka and Sabine were left behind. And then we have Spice Runner Neil Shaw checking in for another 9. He said, beautiful season and really liked that last touch at the end with Anakin. I think what hurts is that this was Ray Stevenson's last performance, and there's so much to explore, and we can't experience it through him. Solid otherwise. Love the touch of I try, I do. So much to love, but I think the finale felt incomplete with all the setup built on prior episodes. Hope there's more. Surprised there was no end credit teaser. So I'll comment to that real quick. I think the final scene was sort of the teaser, because take from when we see Baylan to the end, that's easily a post-credit scene in any other Marvel show or anything like that. But Filoni's like, why would I dump it after the credits? It's part of the show. We're putting it right in there. And the Anakin reveal as well, of course. The only question I have for you guys,
and it felt like Rebels too. Like it felt like we're now we look at this person. What happened with this person? What happened with this person? And it's a wipe for each one of them.
But I know we have a super chat to get to, but what did you guys make of Sabine's feeling? Was she sensing Anakin and Ahsoka wasn't? That was my initial thought.
Actually more interested to hear what you guys think about Sabine having Force sensitive powers.
Well,
because I think this was a big discussion leading into this, during it, but everybody was like, I don't want it. So I'm curious what you guys think about that before I get to the other stuff, because obviously I think she did feel Anakin.
Well, what do you think about my question first, though?
I said she did feel Anakin.
You think she felt Anakin? And
yeah,
Ahsoka
she had an awakening in the Force.
I think, I think that she, during that episode when she was pulling the lightsaber and stuff, I think that was the beginning of her. And also Ahsoka was, or they were having this conversation. It was actually not Ahsoka. It was Huyang and Ezra. And I had heard something that I really hadn't considered. And I don't know if they said it earlier. They said they had problems and, that was their issue. But it was the first time I felt like I had totally gathered that the reason Ahsoka feared Sabine becoming a Jedi or unlocking her potential was because she may turn to the dark side if she actually had those abilities, and she would take it out as like revenge or vengeance. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't think about that. And so then now when I see her getting the Force, now that Ahsoka's okay with it and she's starting to unlock it again, the idea of her having Force powers now is becoming a little bit more interesting to me. Because I'm like, oh, because she might not be.
You were very adamant, though, that you thought it would ruin everything if she had Force powers. Like, you were the strongest person that was like very much. Am I wrong? I thought that was a big thing that you were
thought
like,
I was.
I don't want this.
I didn't want it.
I said she would the whole time.
I think that John might have been the strongest because I do have that tendency of like, just tell the story and I'll go along with whatever. And I may or may not like it. Right now, I don't feel like I like it. But I'm starting to lean towards it because I do think it could be kind of interesting if they did do she has to struggle with the dark. If they want to open that door.
But it's been that they've done that so many times.
Man.
I mean, that's the story. That's the story of everybody.
Right? I don't like it. I'll admit it. I don't like the fact that I felt like she forced Ezra a few times on this episode. I found that to be a little
scared.
strange.
I think he has a lot going on. He's been through a lot of trauma for 10 years.
Yeah, I guess so is she.
He admitted not going to the
family
fortress.
got killed. Like, I don't know.
I understand that, but she was with people she cared about and loved the whole time. He was by himself. That does a big thing to you when you're on a planet by yourself with a bunch of turtle people, and then they're like, "Hey, Anakin, or not Anakin. Hey, Ezra, what can you tell us about this fortress?" And he's like, "I didn't even come over here. He woke up the witches.
Oh, sure,
did all this stuff. I didn't do any of this. Like,
I still
that
don't.
To me is scared.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like Ezra was a little weak still for my taste, but I will accept it. Like seeing her like go from not being able to lift the cup to all of a sudden she could push Ezra 500 feet. I'm like, okay, all right, we're going that big. Okay,
I disagree. Yeah, I think they should have flipped that. She should have been like, "There's no way we're gonna make that jump," and Ezra be like, "We can do this. Just you got to trust."
That would have seemed more.
I'm gonna do the jump, and you got to push me. You know,
yeah,
I need you to do that. And she's like, okay, you know, like give her the confidence, but him be the confident one.
But at the same time, you know, it is what's in place now. So I'm going to adjust and see where they go with it. So it wasn't what I expected from Sabine. I like the fact that she was different from them, and she was like our Mandalorian in the group, and now I feel like she's not abandoning that because she's still using her Mandalorian weapons and her culture, but it definitely hurts it a little for me. But anyway, that's okay. I will adjust and we'll move forward with Jedi Sabine.
When everything comes together, we're gonna have Mandalorians. We're gonna have Mando and Bo, and then you need your Jedis. You got your Sabine, or you've got your Ezra and your Ahsoka, and then you've got Sabine, which is both. You know, it's like,
and Din Djarin's gonna roll up like, "Get behind me, I got this." And Sabine's like, "No, I can use the Force, dude. Get behind me." And he's like, "Oh, okay." All right. But overall,
which he didn't show up. I was wrong about that. I thought he was going to show up by the end of this. They made mention of Mandalore, but he did not show up, which made me sad. But I know a lot of people were happy that he didn't take over this series as well.
Yeah, there was too much of the Force for Mando to stick his head in there. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, sure, there's going to be a reunion or a coming together at some point, of course. But I know we have a bunch of super chats before we get into our favorite moments and our discussion. So what do we have, Lacey?
Yes, John, we do have some super chats.
Why are you saying it like that? That's twice now.
She's trying to buy some time as she pulls it up.
As I flip tabs here. Mike Lovins is up first. What up, Mike? He said, "I appreciate the nod to the book Death Troopers by having a Death Trooper by the biting zombie." That was so creepy. I hate scary stuff, guys. And this episode was gross.
Yeah.
Not my fave.
My sister-in-law said, she was talking. She's like, I don't know, zombies, like really in Star Wars? And I was kind of like, it's not crazy, you know what I mean? Like the sequel trilogy is about bringing Palpatine back to life. You know, it's like, it's not that we haven't gotten that stuff before. And if anybody's going to be able to do it, you would think the witches of Dathomir.
Yeah, and he's even more conscious being a dead body than they are. Like they're just literal zombies. Palpatine is like, he's got his rotting hand, but he's like still able to use powers and stuff. So
yeah.
Gross. I hate Palpatine.
Thanks, Mike.
WC1376C. Thank you for the super chat. Love your picture. It's like a pirate.
Is that French?
I don't know. Is
French?
It?
Yeah.
What are you talking
Italian.
about?
That it's not a name. So it's a joke.
Oh, okay. Season comment
tonight, folks.
Season comment. I believe they could have drawn out the season for a few more episodes, you know, character exploration. Even us diehards would have liked that. Episode 8 too short. R.I.P. Ray, biggest loss to the new Star Wars universe. I would say biggest loss in general. He's such an amazing actor that not just Star Wars, like the world is not as a creative, wonderful place without him in it. Great point though. I strongly believe that the season was too short and it didn't give me enough of a story. I think the only story that I was like somewhat like, yes, this makes sense, is the transition / arc of Ahsoka herself, which makes sense. It's the Ahsoka series, but I feel like everything else I just didn't get enough. But that's just me. Do you guys feel the same?
Oh, go ahead, James. I was just gonna say I feel like there were so many characters that it was tough to do that, but I loved all the characters, so I'll take that as a trade-off over, focusing on Obi-Wan being sad for 3 episodes or whatever.
It's interesting to me that, like, when Mandalorian first started, we were all about like, oh, cool, like 50-minute episode, and then like, oh, 28-minute episode, and it's like, all right, well, just tell the story that you want to tell, and as many episodes as it takes is what it is. But 3 seasons of Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett and now Ahsoka have all been 8 episodes, whereas as soon as they can break away from Dave and John, you get Obi-Wan that's 6 and Andor that's 12. It's like the other people are telling the amount of episodes that are necessary to tell the story that they're telling, whereas John and Dave seem to be like, it has to fit into 8 episodes. And it would be kind of cool if they broke away from that a little bit, given different series. It's like, I think Ahsoka could have been longer, but
yeah, I don't know. I feel like we should have gotten at least like the reaction to Thrawn being in the universe, or like what's next. I think they just left it where this felt like the episode before the finale, where it was like, what's going to happen?
I thought that too. The only thing on that is it still feels weird. Like we would have gotten one more episode with them being like, now what do we do? I feel like that feels a little bit more, but I don't know. It's tough.
I think, don't forget, this is Dave Filoni's first time writing a full live action series. So maybe there's lessons he's going to learn from that. Because there were parts in this episode that I felt like, and I love The Rise of Skywalker, but like JJ had to move that movie fast, and George Lucas likes fast Star Wars too. His whole thing was let's go fast. He's like Ricky Bobby, but like smart. But seeing Ezra like building his new lightsaber was just it was like he was making a microwave dinner. He was like in the kitchen, he was like putting stuff together.
But how cute is it that he had like a Harry Potter moment in the best way possible of like him and Kanan are the only ones that have these 2 pieces, just like Harry Potter.
I love Voldemort. it. I just wish I wish he had more of his moment, and I almost wish Hu Yang wasn't even there. I wanted to see like Ezra just maybe even like talking out loud to Kanan who's not there or something. I just wish that scene breathed a bit more. I still liked it. I still loved it. I like how playful Ezra still is. But I know seeing him build a new lightsaber when they've conditioned us that lightsabers are these big important things and these long journeys to go on them. Like, where did the Kyber come from? Where'd that Kyber crystal come from? Does he have a drawer full of Kyber crystals now? Are they not calling to people anymore? Are we not bleeding them anymore? What's going on with the
like he was just using somebody else's Kyber. Like,
just like
when he lit it up and it was blue, I was like, that doesn't, I'm probably the person that hangs on to that the most, but like, I was like, it wouldn't be blue. that doesn't make sense to me.
That's the thing though. I like that it's back to this way where it's like, it's a weapon. And I like that much more than it being like that. Oh, that crystal called to you and all that stuff. So
I love that Hu Yang was there. I thought he was a highlight of this series, and I thought that he really added to those moments because he showed the history. That's why he was there, like for the history between characters and history of the Jedi, or like reminding everybody where it came from.
Casual audiences, maybe to fill them in.
Sure, but I just loved that he was there. I thought he was a great character.
Just a few minutes ago, I said Hu Yang was the one that filled us in on the real story between why Ahsoka pushed Sabine away. It's like I think he's there to fill in what we need to know. He's good for that. That's kind of his.
He's the Poe Dameron, the Captain Exposition.
Lacey, you got Hu Yang over BB-8 yet? For favorite droid? No? All right.
Look, I like Hu Yang. I like all the droids, but I mean, I still like BB-8.
We should do a Kessel run. Top droids.
Next up is Mickey Bell. What up, Mickey? Oh, look at your dog pic. Love it. He said, I see you with that Celebration t-shirt, James. Wore my Leia one just the other day. Overall, I thought Ahsoka was a really fun series. Finale was okay. I agree.
Thanks, Mickey.
I love wearing this shirt, except for on the show, it always just looks like Luke is like peeking over. Like,
Yeah, he's like Wilson from Home
guys.
Improvement.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Now with that.
Next
Yeah.
is Freezy. It wouldn't be a show without Freezy2324. What up, man? He said, in the last 10 years, couldn't Thrawn have located Ezra with the help of the witches the same way they located Ahsoka a couple episodes ago? I don't think they've let on Freezy how rough it was for them for those 10 years. Like, I think they've left that open to be told in a book or a comic of like how bad it was.
Ooh.
I would even say Thrawn knew exactly where Ezra was, and he wasn't worried about him because he's by himself, and he probably kept track of him the whole time while he's building up his thing.
I don't know if it's that, because he then said to Morgan that one time he fell victim to the heroics of a Jedi. I think he probably was just like, I'm not even going to touch him because he can't bother me. I'm going to focus on what I'm doing. Because there was like a kind of pride thing of like, he defeated me. Well, I'm not going to worry about him because I'm the one that's going to end up defeating him. I'm playing the long game.
Yeah, he plays chess, not checkers. Yeah.
And it definitely seemed like there was one line in there where he says, "Well, I'll give you the last known whereabouts." So it's like that to me felt like they were focused here, but like they'd keep an eye out, and if they saw him or if he got close or something, they'd be like, "We saw him over there."
Which then Ezra wasn't even bothering them either, so they were both like, "I'm gonna stay over here."
Enoch's like,
or that's the other thing.
He's eating soup with turtles. They're like, all right.
He's being their master splinter. I mean, maybe that's the other thing. Maybe a long time ago they just tracked him and they said, "We're just gonna keep an eye on him," and that's it.
I think that's gonna be a
book. It doesn't
book.
seem
I
like
think
he's gonna try to attack them. So
yeah, Ezra Thrawn book of the 10 years that is like ripe for someone to tell that story. Thank you, man. Thanks so much.
Maybe it'll be like the Obi-Wan series where like nothing happened for like 30 years, and then somebody's like, something happened. They all went off world, and
Mickey's back again. Hey, Mickey, love your dog. He said, Ahsoka gave me live action, Rebels crew, Thrawn, amazing Kiner music, amazing casting, Hayden coming back. I'd make a lousy Jedi though. Zero patience. I don't have any patience either. It's real bad.
Yeah.
I'm coaching 5-year-old soccer. I have to have patience.
Good luck.
Yeah, buddy.
Next is Stubby One. He's back. What up, Stubby? He said, Sabine says shadow and starlight often used to describe Abeloth in Legends material. Sabine senses what Baylan does. That is a good point. We didn't really talk about that too much. So the question is, did she sense Anakin, or did she sense what Baylan was doing, or like that pull that he had talked about? That is a great point. Because there's two options there, and the question is, which one is she feeling? Like maybe Anakin was just standing there and she's like, no, the thing behind you.
Yeah, the weird thing was I was watching with the subtitles, and whatever that beam of light was coming down, it said like hopeful music, and I don't think what Baylan was looking at was necessarily hopeful. So I don't know if she was feeling what he was feeling, but maybe Anakin. I don't know.
I thought it was hopeful though to him, because he's saying, I'm going to change what's going on here.
Yep.
Yeah. Great point.
To clearly state it up, I think she felt Anakin. I don't know. That's a good point that like Ahsoka didn't feel, but I don't know. Sometimes I get this impression that Ahsoka has entered this new world of like awareness. She knows Anakin's out there, and they're just showing you sort of Sabine's perspective on it because it's new and interesting to her.
Or maybe it's the thing that like Ahsoka always feels Anakin with her. Like since they've had that fight and they had that moment in closure, like he's just always there with her.
That's what. Yeah.
Whereas
that's what I'm saying.
Sabine's like, oh, what is this thing? Yeah.
She's one with him, and he's there, and he's always there. I'll always be with you, sort of thing. Like
right. All right. Thanks so much, Stubby One. So then we have nerdy_Seb. What up, man? Love your pick. It's like a really cool helmet. He said, it's been a while, been busy, but good to see you guys. Good to see you too. Also, great episode, but I guess Death Troopers are actually Death Troopers. Yes, they are.
I think they always were, right? They were zombies in that Legends novel too, right?
Gross. Thanks so much, man. Anders is up. What up? He said, so Baylan Skoll looking for Mortis? ? We're gonna get into
time
that.
to get into it.
We're gonna get into it, Anders. We have some answers for you, but thank you so much for the super chat. We'll bring you back up in a little bit. Matt Lawless, what up, Matt? He said, "Hey TRB, do you think Mando season 4 will be Mando, Carson Teva, and the Rebels crew hunting Empire remnants, and Ahsoka season 2 will be mainly the group on Peridia?" That's a good question, Matt. We're gonna hold on to this after we have our chat because we actually haven't even gotten the chat part yet.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna keep this question. We're gonna come back
Love
to it. Thanks for super chat. Space Cadet _1. Thanks for super chat. Said, I really wanted some kind of reaction to Thrawn's return. I was imagining Thrawn arriving above Coruscant in the mass freakout, but alas, we wait. I agree, man. I said the same thing. I was like, I felt like it was just very, we're going over here. Okay.
I'm okay with that being episode 1. You know, of the next thing.
Yeah, he's setting up shop in Dathomir, I guess.
All right. Thanks so much. We're going to get into our discussion. We will get back to Anders and Matt's questions shortly.
So let's get into some favorite moments, quote, shot, whatever. What's the matter, James?
I just think it's crazy that we're 40 minutes in and this is like one of the first things we do normally.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, it's the last one. Gotta go big or go home. Lacey, you're up first. Favorite moment from the show?
So I'm gonna give a 2-part answer. My favorite moment was Anakin at the end. I thought it was like a really nice way to wrap everything up, and like Ahsoka kind of being there with Sabine, and it was like a hopeful moment after all this uncertainty. And plus, anytime I get to see Hayden again, like having his moment is always just like a thumbs up, double thumbs up for me as a Star Wars fan, because it's like, dude is living the dream life right now. He gets to be a Anakin again. It means that we're going to see him more. I'm all for it. As for Shot, which is the second part of my answer, I realized that Rick really, I always slaughter his last name.
Famuyiwa.
Yep, not even going to try. Lovely Rick loves tracking shots where they're going in and they're coming out with the camera. And he had a awesome, epic, badass shot at the beginning of the episode with Thrawn, where he does a tracking out to reveal the TIE fighters leaving above his shoulders. Oh my God, did it look like a propaganda poster, like war type thing? It was a stunning shot. And he did very similar shots with Ahsoka when she's battling with Morgan, where she like slices her and then it kind of pulls out and then pulls back in. He loves those tracking shots. So the word of the day is tracking. Tracking.
All right, James, what do you got?
My favorite is got to be a very specific shot. It's kind of twofold, but it's Ahsoka with white lightsabers, Sabine with green lightsaber on the left, Ezra with a blue lightsaber on the right, which made the blue lightsaber thing a little bit more okay to me. It would have been cool to have green on both sides. But I did like to, it had this just strong feeling of like, yeah, Star Wars lightsabers. This is awesome. It was like, it kind of had the, that feeling of the, prequel trilogy where like all of a sudden there's like a bunch of lightsabers and Jedis everywhere and stuff. And, you know, it's like, it just was really cool. I say it was twofold too, because there's one shot where Ahsoka like jumps at the camera and does like an awesome like cut, you know, and you kind of see the other people fighting in the background too. And it's like, man, this is just so cool. And like I said, it reminded me a lot of those scenes in the prequels where you just see Jedi lightsabers and stuff everywhere. And you're just like, man, I can't believe I'm looking at what I'm looking at on screen.
Yeah, I, of course, you know, the epic shot of Balin, the final shot of Ray Stevenson, right on the wrist of the statue of the father, looking out. I thought that was huge, but I'm always going to like that stuff. And I'm so bummed that that's just it. I really am bummed out about that whole thing. But my other favorite shot is, I don't think this was Rick Famuyiwa's best. I think he did better with the finale of season 3 of Mandalorian, directing wise. I think some of this stuff felt very claustrophobic, and it was supposed to look spacious, but some of it I was like, that's not really there. Like I felt that in this episode where I I didn't feel that way about this series. So I don't think this was Rick's best directing job, but I will say I think he gave us the best shots of Ahsoka. So say with that what you will. The show is called Ahsoka. It is her show. I think she looked the most like Ahsoka should look, and like my favorite shot, I think, is the one you picked for our thumbnail for this episode, James. I think she looks so good with the two lightsabers there. Like I could see that shot in Clone Wars or something, just like verbatim. I think he did a great job of capturing Rosario Dawson. So I don't know if they clicked really well. The fight scenes, I thought that he did a great job with. So I will shift and honor Ray Stevenson and say him on the mountain, yes. But I think that shot of Ahsoka like posing with her lightsabers after just whooping those night troopers is just so badass and so cool.
It was awesome.
Yeah. All right, now let's just get into it. 40 minutes in and talk about this thing. Do you guys want to tackle those super chat questions first to get us warmed up, or do you want to wait?
Yeah, I think the big thing that everybody's been talking about is what Anders brought up, which is the Mortis stuff.
Yeah,
which this is James' moment to shine. I did go back and read a bunch of stuff on this, so I am ready to discuss it. But I'm not going to lie. I think this, when you get into stuff like this, it is understandable why the casual fan will be like, what? But knowing that this stuff came from George, as in George Lucas, you understand why Dave is continuing that on. But I'll let you guys kick it off.
Yeah, James, you can go ahead. I don't love it. I'll be honest. I don't love that they're doing this, but
I think Lacey brings up the point that it gets me the most excited, which is just like, we sometimes think of this as like Dave's thing, but this is also George's thing. And this whole concept of, Anakin being the chosen one and the father being like, that's you. When I heard you, that the chosen one had been born and found, I had to see him, and all this. And I was only able to watch 2 of the 3 Mortis episodes today. I went back and watched the first 2.
Oh, nice.
Just to kind of refresh a little bit. But it was, I think it's just been one of these bigger through lines that seems to kind of get overlooked a little. It's not overlooked, but it's like one of those things where, like, as soon as you bring it up, people go, yeah, I've heard a billion theories about it. And just to see it like being shown that you're not unheard, we are doing this. This stuff is important, is always just really good when you get that feeling. And I don't necessarily know that it's a bad thing that people that don't know about it are finding out about it. I mean, I've watched tons
it does
of Marvel
explain where Balin is talking about like fairy tales, and Ahsoka gets into the fairy tale stuff too. It explains those 2 characters what they were talking about, because for episodes we were like, what story are they talking about? It's this one, obviously.
That's a good point though too, because when I was rewatching the episodes today, I did have a thought where I was like, how big of a fairy tale is the story of the father and the kids and all that?
You have to remember that and Obi-Wan and Ahsoka woke up thinking that it was all a dream.
I don't think they remember it at all.
Right. They just
wasn't that it was a dream. They just, it never happened. But the weird thing to me is that when they showed up, they didn't know who the father and the mother and the son were. So this fairy tale seems like it came from them, but yet they don't remember it. So it's like, where is this story that Balin's talking about? I don't know. It's all kind of interesting.
Yeah, he said he would tell all the Padawans these stories of the galaxy. And she's always like, oh, well, the second one was my favorite. So you have to wonder, what is he telling them?
I want to say now, I don't know if you guys have seen it on my Twitter or whatever, but I posted something where I was like, hey, this is just a theory. I'm throwing it out there, but I'm starting to really land on it, that I think Balin is the son. If there is some truth to like each one of them being connected somehow, because in the past I've thought Anakin, the father, the chosen one, the one in the middle, the balance, all that makes sense. And obviously the ties to Ahsoka and the daughter makes sense, but the son has always been a question mark. And Starkiller would be cool because it would be the other Padawan of Vader, the evil version or whatever. But I am kind of curious that we don't really know a whole lot about Baylan and Anakin's history. He says at one point, he goes, few know what he became, which means he does know Anakin became Vader. And Baylan, or when Vader became Vader, he was top dog. So if Baylan was around in any means, that means Vader was above Baylan and could have treated him like an apprentice of some sort.
But the problem with that is that when you talk about the father, the son, and the daughter and what they represent, Baylan was very clear to Ahsoka that she represents death and destruction in everything that she does, and that he does not represent those things. So if you're saying he's the son, he doesn't represent those things in his own mind, that he isn't murder and destruction and whatever. He wants to start something new. So wouldn't that lean him towards like more of the daughter side of things, which is like bringing life and whatever?
But if you like, I went back and listened to those episodes today, and I was like scrutinizing it through that theory of mine. And the son does sound a lot like Baylan. Like he's like, oh, I'm not Sith, the good, the dark. It's like, we will destroy it all. Like we can fix this galaxy and bring peace. And that's all quotes from the son, And I know
Ahsoka has the convor who reveals itself to her at the end of the episode, which was really cool to see in live action, which is the colors of the daughter. I get that. It's very weird to me to be like, oh yeah, he aligns with this character, but it's like, does he though? Because but at the same time, the son was very much like, I'm doing what's right, whereas that's what Baylan's doing. So,
yeah, John, why are you leaning on this as maybe not a good move, or you're not feeling it as much?
No, it's not that I'm not feeling it. I got to see how it plays out.
It feels very Lord of the Rings more than Star Wars to me.
Yeah, I don't know how much Anakin's going to play a role in this, and I don't know how it works or how they're going to make it work with someone who's dead taking on this role, which to me, they were alive, but it was in this different dimension where time stood still when they came out. It's just one of those weird, like it's the weirdest thing in Star Wars. It's the weirdest thing in Star Wars. And I have to see how they're going to use it. The same way I had trepidation about the World Between Worlds. I'm like, so we're bringing that in and we're doing this. It's like, oh man. But I don't necessarily think it has to be like, well, Ahsoka's a woman, so she's the daughter. But I think because of how she took on the spirit of the daughter, that one makes sense. So we'll check that one off.
Sure.
But Baylan's standing on the statue of the father, which is pointing in the direction. I think he thinks he's the father. I think he's looking to take on. He doesn't want to be second fiddle to anybody. I think Baylan's like, I'm achieving power greater than you ever imagined. I think he's 100%. The one who wants to be the architect. He's wants to be the father. So I think the son. I think the son could be Sabine. I think Sabine.
No. But hear me out. Hear me out. Those episodes. That's exactly what the son does. He shocks the father and he says, I'm tired of waiting around to take the power. I want the power, Right. And he tries to kill the father. So if you're saying the son feels like he's the one who should be at the top, that sounds like Baylan,
Yeah. So I don't know who the son is. I don't know if they're trying to make it Sabine or, because they are flirting with like reminding us that Ahsoka had trepidation on training her because she wanted revenge, and revenge is obviously that big word that ties to the dark side. Yoda beat us all over the head with that, so that one's the big question mark to me, because I personally think Baylan's going to take over the father role, and I don't want Anakin to have that big of a re-entry, because the Skywalker saga's over. Anakin's story was told. I like the idea of those people having a presence when needed to help our heroes get to where they need to be. Like, why would Anakin show up and like get involved with this thing, but then in the end of Rise of Skywalker, where some fans were like, I wish Anakin showed up and helped force push Palpatine, blah, 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 which I hate. I don't like that at all. I think that would have stripped away so much from Rey's journey. Why would he not show up there? But then he's going to be like, you know what? We're going to do this whole Mortis thing.
I mean, I have a lot of questions about the sequel trilogy at this point. Like, where were all these people? Like, this
that might be why they're introducing this stuff, so that they can wrap them around and come back the other side or something. But I mean, I love that we have. There's so many ideas, and every time either one of us say something, I'm like, oh, or someone in the chat or someone I talk to, I'm like, there's so much swirling around. I love that stuff. Speculate as irresponsibly as you want. I don't believe in speculating responsibility. I love you, Ken and Joseph, but as long as you're not expecting what you're speculating, do whatever the hell you want.
I think
I am going to bring up this super chat from Steven, which is his first super chat. Thank you so much. We're honored that we're your first super chat. He said, embrace the weird. It's true.
Yeah.
I love the weirdest part of Star Wars. I feel like this is, I don't know if weird is the right term for this. I feel like this is like mystical, like you're getting in more of the fantasy stuff, fantastical. Weird to me is like the turtle people, Jabba the Hutt. Like that to me is weird. But I agree, Steven. We should totally embrace that. I just think there's also a piece that you're like, oh man, like how much research am I going to have to do to understand this?
You know, I'm also aware that I don't think Dave or anyone has ever really implied that there is the father, the son, and the daughter, and then we're gonna figure out who the character counterparts actually are later down the line, and we're trying to put that all together. It is possible that that's just not even a concept. The father asked Anakin to take over his role. Anakin said no, and the father goes, but if you turn this down, it's just going to bring a bunch of problems to the galaxy, which happened. So it's like, that may be it, you know, and just no one ever replaces or embodies or metaphorically stands in the position of those characters. They just are separate characters. But if that is the case, it is fun to sort of imagine how things balance out. It's like, oh, the father balanced his kids. Like, okay, Anakin may or may not be balancing some of his children or proteges or these other characters that are light and dark or something like that. But who knows? I don't know. I just think it's cool. I do like Lord of the Rings, Lacey. That's a good point. I like seeing this awesome character stand and it's pointing and it has all this history.
Like they even have the exact same statue in Lord of the Rings of the men that are like, the boats go through it. Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah. I'm going to try to get to a couple more of these super chats so we can get more into this discussion. But Matt, thank you so much for coming back to you. Super chat. He said, hey, TRB, do you think Mando season 4 will be Mando, Carson Teva, and the rebels hunting down Empire remnants? And will Ahsoka 2 be mainly the group on Peridia? So the first answer to your question, Matt, is I don't know if we're getting a season 2. I think we are, but they haven't announced it yet. What do you guys think? Season 2? Or do you think it's going right into the movie?
No, I think it's got to happen.
I think the movie's ways away.
Away.
I think there'll be a season 2, but I don't think it'll be on Peridia. I think that'd be rough. I think we spent already too much time on Peridia. I feel like Peridia was.
Well, they have to solve all the Balin stuff.
Yeah, but I think we're going somewhere else, and wherever that mountaintop is with the glistening top.
Peridia.
No, but I think that might be like the gateway to Mortis, and we'll be going there for Ahsoka season 2 or something. So
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, Peridia just seemed, it's very bland as a planet, and I think it was like just sort of used as, let's make the dullest background possible so that we focus on the characters, and they did what they needed to do. And I don't even mean that like jokingly, but like they did what they needed to do to get us back to 0. And like, all right, Thrawn's going back home, Ezra's going back home, that's kicking off, and now these two are here. Where do we go from here? It also comes down to, budget and stuff like that, of course. But I think there'll be a season 2. Mando season 4, I have no idea, because I did not expect what, if you compare season 1 of Mando to season 3, completely different show almost. So I don't even know what do you guys think? I have no idea.
I feel like Mando season 4 has to be that hunting down Empire remnants with Carson Teva, because Carson's like, hey, come work for me. Well, what is Carson doing? He's checking out what people from the Empire are doing.
So blend Ranger
more and more.
Rangers the New Republic with.
Yeah.
He seems like he's on the side with Hera. He believes what she's saying. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I definitely think Ahsoka season 2 happens. For Mando season 4, I don't know. It's almost interesting to picture where all of this is going to go, because what we've been seeing in this is that the New Republic still doesn't want to believe that there's a problem. And we're thinking right now that, oh, well, when Thrawn comes back, you'll see it's a big problem. But that's actually not the case. New Republic doesn't seem to think there's a problem with the Empire all the way through till the First Order. So I don't really even know how much of a threat Thrawn is going to be to the galaxy. It's probably going to be a small system of planets that the New Republic goes, what happened over there? And we're like, we defeated Thrawn, and they're, oh, it must not have been a big deal. And it's like, it was a big deal, like we still have to end Filoni's movie with the New Republic being like meh about military and building it up and stuff, because the sequels trilogy still has to happen.
Totally.
Do you think there's only one more season of Mando before the movie?
I've always said, what is it? 3. Wait, we did 3. 4 seasons in a movie is what I said. 5 total.
So then Mando season 4 will have to do whatever they need to do to lead up into the movie where Thrawn is the villain. So I think James is
I think that's perfect timing for that. I mean, what more do you need to tell,
Yeah.
So we got Mando season 3, Ahsoka season 1, Mando season 4, Ahsoka season 2, and then the movie?
Skeleton Crew.
Oh, and Skeleton Crew.
That will tie in, in some way as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it would, I mean, and probably not, but there's always that small percentage chance that they do reinvigorate Rangers of the New Republic.
But I think they're going to work that into it. I think they're going to work that into Mando.
Yeah, whatever the idea was, it's already kind of in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's showing up in other stuff. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It would, if that show already came out, it would have been the 5 Rangers who was with Hera in Ahsoka. And would have been like, oh, that's a cool crossover. But instead, it's just Carson Teva.
It would have been
they
Cara
murdered all these
Dune,
people.
Bill Burr. It would have been all of them. Because Bill Burr, she was recruiting Bill Burr. She was like, oh, that guy? Okay.
Yeah. So that's funny to think about. Like, if that all would have worked out, that would have made a lot of sense and been like a really cool cameo and moment to have all those characters there.
Yeah.
I saw someone today saying online boldly, I was very surprised that they were like, they're gonna, shelf Skeleton Crew and never release it. And I was like, are you bananas?
No, that's bananas. Sorry, I'm laughing. I just had this picture of Bill Burr like being like, what's with all these space whales? Like just whatever
complaining about
he
the traffic.
Does, his thing. Yeah, totally. Like, I can't get over this. What's going on?
Like, all right.
To your point though, like I don't know what to think of that.
Someone said that online, and I forget who it was. I apologize. I would have given you a shout out if I'd known. I would have called you a banana, because that's what I think that take is bananas.
Wouldn't it be so funny, like Star Wars completes a project and then
they
they're
would
like,
never shelve it. It has Jude Law in it.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm sorry, guys. If it was like no name people, sure, but because Jude Law's in it and he's already done press for it, like there's no way. Stubby One's back. What up, Stubby One? He said Abeloth is the mother of the Mortis god's legend, twisted by the dark side, a being of chaos hell-bent on enveloping the universe in darkness. Is this from Legends?
Yeah, I think so.
So, well, yeah, I don't know. I tried looking a little bit into this because I've been seeing the word Abeloth pop up on Twitter, and I was like,
it's a Legends
mother
thing,
of the Mortis. Yeah, but when would that have come out? Because I guess like when they did it in Clone Wars, Legends still would have been a thing, right?
I don't know if he means it's Legends or if he means there's like a story like the Legend of Mortis, but that's canon. I'm not. I don't know, but I thought I guessed it on Orange Grove 55. Shout out to those guys, but they were talking about that. They're like, "Do you think it's going to be Aboleth?" And that's what Balin's trying to do. And I'm like, I don't know. And what I realized was, this was Dave Filoni's first live action show that he wrote and was the showrunner for. And he already took a Legends character that's been brought into canon in Thrawn and made him his main villain. I can't see Dave Filoni being like, all right, I'm a creative executive for Lucasfilm. This is my first show I get to be the showrunner for. I got my character Ahsoka.
I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna take this.
And then he's just gonna borrow things, all these different things. I don't think so. So I think
Heir to the Empire, Thrawn, this.
Yeah,
that.
I think Thrawn's a big piece. I don't think it'd be very smart for Dave Filoni to be like, and then I'm going to use this stuff for over here and over here. Then people are going to be like, dude, then you're just ripping, and you're just creating something. It's like being a cover musician.
He's curating his favorite pieces of EU.
It's being a tribute band or cover band. I think he's got to be cognizant of that, especially with his role now as an executive. I don't like. I know Legends fans are very passionate, and I always get yelled at by Legends fans that I don't read Legends, and I just won't. I like canon Star Wars. It's nothing against it. It's just my personal, like what I like. But I just can't see him doing too much of that, because then he's going to get a lot of guff being like, oh, this is the guy you say is the future of Star Wars, and he's taking stuff that people already did. I just can't see that. So I don't think a lot of that stuff's happening.
Thanks,
I
looked it up.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. I looked it up. It looks like most of the Abeloth stuff comes from a book series that was released in 2010 to 2011. There were a couple of them called Fate of the Jedi. They're just like, there was like 5 or 6 of them: Outcast, Omen, Abyss, Allies, Vortex, Conviction, and Ascension. And Abeloth is in all of these books. That's where the character comes from. So it must have been something post mortis that somebody was like, yeah, let's tell this story even more.
I just love that people are able to speculate like this. Like someone that's such a fan of the books is able to join the conversation and be like, oh man, it could be this, this, and this. I'm happy for you guys. I really am. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but I'm learning a lot. I will be honest about stuff that's happened in EU and the books and whatnot.
I'm not I'm not here to rain on people's parades. I just say what I like. You know, if people love that stuff and they want them to incorporate it, I'm rooting for you too, you know. But I see a lot of people in the comments talking about Cobb Vanth.
What happened?
Because he was going to be one of the Rangers too, right? Or he was going to be a sheriff, take over for Boba Fett.
Yeah, I'm not reporting this or anything, but I'll just say I have a very good feeling that they're making another set of Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett episodes.
Is that feeling
it's like a season 2?
Said something to you, or like you actually just
coming from the cosmic force?
Yeah, okay.
I think Cobb Vanth will be a big part of it, because look where he left off, and Boba Fett's like, here's the keys, and we heard Tamara Morrison say like, I want Boba Fett to come back, but I want him to like kick ass and do Boba Fett stuff. He's gonna be able to leave Tatooine, leave that to Cobb Vanth, and go do Boba Fett stuff. So I think there'll be more Boba Fett, and I think it'll be a lot better. I don't want to say better because that's my opinion, but it'll be different than the Book of Boba Fett we got, and it'll be probably a lot more familiar to the Boba Fett we were expecting.
Is Cad Bane dead? I forget. Or did they
he's in the Bacta.
He's in the Bacta. And then the robot guy came in.
Yeah, they gave him like a new shoulder. They're giving him like a new shoulder, and he'll be able to shoot quicker and stuff.
The cool guy with that was like operating on people. He came in to fix him.
Yeah.
Are you guys talking about Cobb Vanth?
Yes.
Cobb Vanth.
I'm talking about Cad Bane.
Oh, Cad Bane. Oh, I think Cad Bane's
Cobb Vanth, didn't you?
No, I said Cad Bane, and you guys were both like, he's in the Bacta. I'm like, is he? I don't know.
He's in there too, Bane. James. They're all in there. It's a big Bacta tank.
But wasn't there something like his meter was still beeping or something?
No, I think he's dead.
I think he's supposed to be dead too. Yeah, but I just remember something where maybe
they gotta let some of these characters stay dead, man.
If the Night Sisters roll up, he probably won't be dead.
That's all. I would love zombie Cad Bane.
Yeah. He's already ugly looking. Imagine like he rolls up as a zombie. Jeez,
sick.
They were so creepy, the Night Sisters. We haven't talked about them at all, but they are supremely creepy. And I still don't understand, and someone can explain it to me. I'm happy to listen. The dynamic of why they're so connected with Thrawn and why they're like, we serve you. Like, what is he doing for them? He just seems like he's standing there.
Sisters?
Yeah.
The mothers.
Yes. Like, so Ezra said he gave a hint to it, and he said he woke them up. Maybe he woke them up from those caskets, which are more witches, I'm assuming. So if that's the case, then he woke them up, so then they're grateful that he got them out of their tomb. And if that's the case, like, is it like kind of like a Chewbacca thing? Like, we owe you our life now because you woke us up?
Maybe he says, if you help me get off this planet, I promise I will take more Dathomirian people back to Dathomir, the home planet, and reinvigorate your society. And so they're like, whatever you need.
With
yeah,
a
that
plan
must be it.
to vanquish them if he needs to.
I just feel like it gets to a point that, like, when is that relationship going to sour?
Yeah, I agree. I think it is.
When General Grievous shows up and kills all the Dathomirian people.
He comes back too, yeah. Everyone comes back.
Yeah.
It's like Endgame. Yeah, I don't know. It's wild to think about, but we also didn't really talk about the lightsaber fights, which I thought were really good.
Yeah.
How about one of Ahsoka's blades gone, cut in half?
It is cut in half, yeah.
Kind of surprising. Kind of took the fate of the Darksaber, where if you blink, it's like,
it the
Ahsoka's
small
got
one
two
or the big
sabers,
one?
and it's probably the small one.
Yeah,
it's got to be the small one. Could you imagine she spends the rest of her series with their like side one?
That would be weird. Yeah. But now she could just go in Hu Yang's kitchen and make another one. So
Hu Yang's kitchen. Why are you calling it a kitchen?
It looks like you know why
it's reminds like a workshop.
But no, I know. But it reminds me of Beru's kitchen in like that little tiny kitchenette space in A New Hope where she's making her little like salad. Mm-hmm. It's just this little tight quarters with these drawers everywhere. So I'm gonna call it a kitchen, a lightsaber kitchen.
It's kind of like Droid Workshop at Galaxy's Edge.
I'm gonna bake up some lightsabers. Yeah. Ding! This one's ready.
John's picturing Hu Yang in like an easy bake oven over there, being like, "Hey, what color do you want this?"
Hu Yang with an apron on.
He's dang! Did I put the wrong packet in? I did that once, by the way. I put a frosting packet in my easy bake oven and totally broke it.
Who dang?
My mom was
Who dang.
My mom was not happy about it.
Those things are dangerous, weren't they? Don't they get really hot?
Easy bake
so
oven?
Basically what it was is it's like a plastic oven that had a light bulb in it that would get super hot. Like, I don't know if anybody ever had one of those clip lamps back in the 90s. Like, my parents were like, it's a reading light. And it got the temperature of the sun. Like, it could have burned down my bunk bed and me in it and but they were like, it's a reading light. It's basically one of those light bulbs that's probably really bad for the environment that went into this easy bake oven, and you put it in and the heat from the light bulb would heat up the mixture to cook it. Well, I ran out of cake packets and I was like, well, this must be a cake packet, and it was frosting and it just exploded everywhere. And I got into trouble and I had to throw out my easy bake oven. So that's I actually am a good baker though. So I came back.
Will you redeem yourself and buy one and try again?
Do they still exist? I know they have the creepy crawly ones for boys now. They're like creepy crawly jello characters.
I actually don't know if those still exist. That was kind of in the like 90s, early 2000s. That
I'm telling you, they have the jelly ones now. It's like
I'm gonna go on eBay right now and order one while we're podcasting.
Oh, Hu Yang.
Easy bake oven. Yeah, I think I can get one for like $20.
It would be cool if they introduced Hu Yang into Black Spire, someone like Hu Yang that's like has the history of lightsaber stuff that like you can go in and ask him questions and he'd give you all your answers and stuff like that. Like, I know they have the actors that do it with you, but it would be a nice tie-in.
Why is this so cheap? Can I put it in the chat?
There's crazy history around the easy bake oven as far as
they've been making them forever.
Yeah, there have been like what do they call it? Callbacks or whatever.
What are you doing?
I'm sorry.
John. Oh my God. I'm deleting your comments. What are you doing? Stop.
Posting the easy bake oven in the chat.
It's now telling me, do you want to put this user in timeout? I'm the user. Can you not?
We sent TRB to Mortis because I post the easy bake oven in the chat from eBay.
Oh my God. Remove.
I just want to throw out there too, because I know she didn't get a lot of light in this episode either, but like the Shin thing, I still feel like she's got this Darth Maul storyline going on where she just like looks for the smallest piece of something that she can rule over, and that scene of her like coming up over the horizon and the people seeing her, and then she's like, I own you now. And I'm like, that's cool. Like, I just think that character is so cool, and I want to know more about that. And I would imagine she's in Ahsoka season 2, and we are going to get a little bit of Peridia, because it does feel like, obviously got to get Sabine and Ahsoka and Huyang off. You got Shin that's still around, and they've clearly set her up as the new leader of the. It'd be cool if we see her next season, and she's got like, tribal tattoos on her face or something crazy, like she's become their like Princess Mononoke or something,
I thought of it. Princess Mononoke. I'm gonna be spicy for a second though, and just say that I thought her character was really boring. Like, I liked her character in the beginning of the season. I thought about halfway, I was like, she's just standing there. She's pretty boring. Like, she didn't really do much. She was just like, I'm here, master. What should I do? I'm going to ask all these questions so that the audience knows the answers to these questions. And then he was just like, you're on your own. And she was like, what? And then she just looks like a deer in headlights for the rest of the season. I just found her character really boring for the second half of the season.
I mean, if you take, that's a fair point. I mean, I still really liked the look of her and her fighting and stuff.
The first half, she was legit. And then it's just womp.
If you take away animated Maul, that is kind of what Maul was in the Phantom Menace. He didn't say much. He just kind of he was like, oh, okay.
But then he got cool towards the end with all the fights and stuff.
Right. And I think she'll still have her time. I just, because I hope she's not a throwaway. I mean, I could see it happen, because if things change with what they do with Baylan, it might change with her, because he said, I trained you to be something greater. And then right now she's not there yet. So I think there's something bigger coming for that character, hopefully. And I think she's fairly young. So hopefully we're just scratching the surface.
I think she falls in line with those characters that they think they have a bigger purpose. They get thrown away too early, and they have to fight their way back to prove to themselves that they have worth. I don't know why the name is coming to mind, but Kira is like popping out to me. It's like she has this story where, she has aspirations of being something bigger. And then when she ends up inevitably being, continue to be sold into slavery and all this other stuff and under the ownership of this other person, it's like, it's just not the way that it goes. But as soon as she can figure out a way out of that, she can kind of forge her own path that is very different than she ever thought she was going to be when the story started. So it's like, I think there's a long line of Star Wars characters that you could put into that category, and Shin is a new one for this particular group of characters.
Yeah. I do want to bring up this question that is, I think, kind of interesting as well. Jacob said, do you think they changed some of Baylan's stuff in this episode after his passing? And I think that's a big question as Star Wars fans we all have, is like, what did they change after that happened? I'm going to be honest, and I don't think they changed anything, because I did watch an interview right before this episode, this live stream, of an interview at Celebration of him talking about this. And he talked about how his character was on a quest. And he's like, my character's on a quest. He's the catalyst to something bigger than himself. Like, that's what he was saying. And to me, that matches up exactly what we've seen so far. Is like, he's going to something bigger that he doesn't even understand how big it is, but he's going to set off a chain reaction of sorts. So that's why I don't think they changed anything.
And the other thing is, like, the position we're in right now feels like it sucks because you've set him up. So what other storyline did you have where you've now changed it and put yourself in the position where we're now owed more with that character, and you're not going to be able to deliver on it?
Oh my God.
You made that decision after his passing. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. I think for sure you're right, Lacey. This was the story that they were telling with Baylan. They had plans in the future, but he passed. That's unfortunate. Then we're now in this position where they're like, we're putting everything he did on screen because he gave it his all, and that's exactly what we wanted out of him.
That's exactly it.
Yep.
Yeah. And if you look at, I like to look, I think Lucasfilm operates in patterns, and they have rules, unreleased rules about, how they do recastings and stuff, because there are clear patterns that they follow. And you don't have to look for a bigger example than the fact that, they didn't have, or he didn't, being Rian Johnson made 0 changes to the end of The Last Jedi. They didn't kill Leia off. They didn't do anything. They had another movie to do where Leia was supposed to be the biggest of the OG3. They kept to what it was. And if you do that for Leia, one of the top 3 biggest characters in the history of Star Wars, you can also leave Baylan Skoll's original stuff and figure something out after that. So I completely agree with what you said, Lacey. I think it was also to honor, him, knowing he probably saw it, and he passed away seeing his performance. To change that for that reason would also feel a little slimy.
I do have to give a shout out to Diamond Figs, who's usually in the chat, chatting it up with everybody here.
What up, Diamond Figs?
He's the one that posted that clip. He went back and found that clip of Ray Stevenson talking specifically about his character and quest and everything. And it's such a lovely thing because he's so into it, and he's like, you could just tell he's so hyped to be a part of Star Wars. So it's like heartbreaking. But at the same time, I think it provides some clarity of the decisions that they made, even despite his passing, to continue on with the character. And I agree with both of you. I think they're just going to recast him with another actor. And I think we as fans need to be supportive of that so that the character can continue on, because I think Ray Stevenson would want that, is that this, the character gets his story.
Yeah.
Because it adds honor to that character to let it continue on.
Certainly.
Do you guys think that we are done with Hayden Christensen then? If Kenobi's not coming back, and if that's the wrap on him for Ahsoka's series, do you think he shows up in Ahsoka season 2, or do you think they have other plans for him?
Yeah, he'll be back.
We're gonna see him more. He's on the payroll now.
And the pops he gets at Celebration, and how much fans have really started to embrace him, and the kids who grew up with him are now the big voices and stuff.
It also ties everything together with Anakin.
I'm also so glad, like, everybody was like glad that he came back for Kenobi, and it was really cool, but like Kenobi didn't have like the best reception. So I was like, a little part of me was like, no, I feel so bad for Hayden. Like, he does the prequels and they're great, but they're not well received. He does Kenobi and it's good, but it's not well received. It's like just so unfortunate. I'm so glad that he did this, and people loved Ahsoka, because it was like, yes, Hayden, dude, you nailed it. This was awesome. I'm so glad.
He's so good.
So please come back and do more. And Ahsoka season 2 seems like a perfect opportunity. Just however, Ahsoka season 1 gave us like a weird flashback scene. It's like they can do anything.
Yeah.
So do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We have a couple of super chats, and then we can maybe give some final thoughts. And
we do. So Christian, what up, man? Thanks for super chat. He said,
thanks,
so
buddy.
Yang just big chilling until Ahsoka called him. Awfully convenient the T6 was fixed right then. ... LOL. That's how it always happens, Christian. I almost said Chris because you're Chris on Patreon. Christian, it always happens that way in the movie. It's always the right timing, perfect time. They're right there, jumping off the edge. It could literally be any movie. That's how it works. Hooray.
Yahoo. Yeah.
That's how it always happens.
Ready to get out of
right?
here? Let's jump off a cliff.
Like Ray jumping into the Millennium Falcon and stuff. Like, it's always there.
Marty McFly jumping off the Biff.
Or like this episode, like Indiana Jones, they're on the horses and they get through just before the doors close.
Frank Grande, what up,
Frank? Or this episode where that same thing happened.
That's what I was saying.
Frank gotcha.
Frank is so awesome. I'm just going to say that. But Frank, thanks for the super chat. He said, so many unanswered questions. I agree. He said, but I have to ask Lacey, have you forgiven Sabine now that she stayed behind to help Ahsoka? You know what? I honestly think I have, in a way. And the reason is because she sacrificed her own jump to get Ezra on the ship. However many people die in the near future are on her because she did this. Like, she could have stopped all of this. But at the same time, I don't take back what I said, Frank. I do think that the choices she made was selfish. But at the same time, she's that character that needs to push the plot along and be selfish. like the Star-Lord and Avengers who caused Thanos to get away. Like it's got to be there's always a character that thinks emotionally and not rationally, and just for, hey, I need to get from point A to point B. But it seems like she will kind of validate that choice through sending Ezra home and helping Ahsoka in her journey, because Ahsoka clearly couldn't take this journey on her own. So I would say I've half forgiven Sabine. I'm coming around.
Yeah, I think that moment where Sabine, decided to not go because she was just about to jump, and then she saw Ahsoka being in a little bit of trouble. I think that goes, I like bookends. I think that rounds out to her remembering the message Ezra left for her, saying like sometimes we have to do, what's right and not what we want, and it's showing her growth.
It was growth, yeah.
Yeah, that Ahsoka now believes in her enough to want to train her again. Like, she did make a mistake. She chose passion and she chose her heart, which is selfish. It doesn't mean it was wrong for everything. To go to Peridia and help, essentially help Baylan do that.
Ultimately, it was inevitable, though. If we're going to be honest,
Yeah.
like inevitably, Thrawn was going to roll up. So it's just that she's helped speed that process up, but at least they're cognizant of him being there.
She selfishly went to find Ezra and selflessly let him go and stayed back to help Ahsoka. And I thought that was really cool, sort of parallel.
She definitely calmed down. She's not as angry as she was in the beginning. Like how angry she was riding the motorcycle, then seeing Ahsoka, she's angry, then training, she's angry. She's angry all the time. And like at the end when she's like, I just have a feeling, you're like, oh, she's like chill now. She's
not like angsty. Yeah, right.
Someone brought up a funny point, and they had a few comparisons. I'll only remember probably one of them, but it was pretty funny to see. They were like, so this series ends the exact same way Rebels ends, where Sabine sends Ezra or sees Ezra go off to a distant galaxy, and or something like that. And she's here and he goes there. I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. There were a couple other comparisons that were all in that same similar thing, but it is pretty funny to think that the whole point of Rebels was to hopefully be together, and Ezra like leaves to another galaxy, and then the whole point of Ahsoka was to hopefully be together, and Ezra gets sent off to the other galaxy. It's kind of like, gosh darn it.
Yeah.
We did have one more super chat come in. Thanks so much for Home Damn. He said, perhaps Baylan starts his own order of baddies, with the next generation being the called the Adepts of Skull, or simply the Skulls. Maybe. I see him kind of in it for himself, though. He seems like he's very much like, I'm doing what I want to do. I've, spent my time. I've paid my dues. This is me time. And that's why he sent Shin away.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of like that too.
Shin had to no story left. The character.
I do like I like the names though. Sounds cool. Hamdam. As does yours, if that's your real name.
That
But
is your real name.
Yeah. No, it's who knows? We don't know when we're going to find out the answers to all these, but boy, there are a lot of questions and I love it.
Yes.
All right. Anything else before we hop out?
I really hope we get a season 2. I really hope we just keep getting Star Wars stuff. I hope that the actors the SAG people get a good deal. The writers have gotten theirs. It's SAG's turn, and then hopefully followed by visual effects, because they deserve it as well. And that we keep getting projects like this. Like, this was such a joy to watch for the past month and a half and chat with you guys every week. And I'm excited to see where Star Wars goes from here, because just so many things have been opened in live action that like anything is possible at this point.
Yeah. And I love going back to the what we were at Celebration and we were watching Gideon stand in front of these holograms, and it's like it's Hux, Brendel Hux, and like, where's Thrawn? Is he gonna show up? And I'm just like, all of it's coming together.
I know.
It's so cool. I love it.
It is absolutely.
It's finally getting to that feeling that we loved the Marvel Cinematic Universe for so long, and we're like, why isn't Star Wars able to do that? It's like, it's in some ways this little pocket of Mandoverse has really felt like that, where we're like, you can watch one thing and it is its own thing, but then it crosses over and it comes together. It's so cool.
Totally.
Yeah, and we got to thank Favreau and Filoni for weaving this together, because they're really tying all these different shows and threads together, which we've seen Marvel do on the grand scale in theaters, but what they're doing here is pretty impressive. So I'm glad that they're here. I'm glad they're doing it, and I look forward to more and leading up to whatever that movie ends up being. But it's exciting. It's an exciting time, and I really had a good time talking about this show. I felt like most fans really rallied around it. Even people who aren't diehard fans seem to enjoy it. The fantastical elements of it and how it looked and how the actors performed. I think overall it was just a really fun experience, and I needed it. I had a rough summer, so this really helped me out. So thank you to everybody for joining us during this. We're going to be switching back now that there's no live action Star Wars show. We're going to flip it back to Thursdays. TRB Live is still going to be TRB Live. We're going to start diving back into the news and our takes on that stuff and all of our fun segments and all that good stuff. But back to Thursday night, same time, 8:30. So thanks everybody for listening, watching, being a part of TRB. It means a great deal to all of us. Make sure you're subscribed on your preferred platforms, whether that's audio or, of course, here on YouTube.com/@the-resistance broadcast. And tell your friends. It means a lot for us if you spread the word and tell people. And of course, we have our Patreon, patreon.com/resistance broadcast. If you like what we do and you want to support us, tier start at just $5. And there's a lot of bonus content on there. We have exclusive podcast episodes. We do polls. We do live streams on there. We do Q&As where you ask us about anything, a lot of stuff. So go check it out. Find a tier you like and sign up. Again, patreon.com/resistance broadcast. Special shout out to our generals and spice runners: General Carmelo, John RISI, JETTA Rosewater, Frank Grande, Nick Kratz, Chris Morales, Brian Smith, Matt Chitty, Danny, Mike Ramori, Matt Heath, Brendan McLaughlin, Count Pepto, Sneaky Zebra, Aaron Ellington, Colin Cormier, Jolton Jedi DiMaggio, Diana, and Dave Hornack. And the Spicy Spice Runners: David Probus, Neil Shaw, Kendall Gelner, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, Michael Fry, and the Fort Worthian. And then for us, I'm at Johnny Hoey on all those normal social media apps. And my movie podcast, Just Like the Movies. We're doing the original Halloween next in 2 weeks. Lacey, how about you?
People can find me on social media at Lacey Gilleran and on TikTok at It's Lacey Gilleran. And you guys are the best. Heart.
Yep.
And James.
That's my Taylor Swift move for John because he hates Taylor
There you
Swift.
go.
I did. Can you not start fires? We almost got out of here.
You're the one that's tweeting stuff that you hate Taylor Swift. So
I never said that.
Out.
Find the tweet.
John.
Oh, do you want me to find
Taylor
a tweet
Swift
about you talking about how she said something about like, oh, she's gonna write some song about how this tight end was a dead end,
right?
Basically saying that she's a terrible singer songwriter.
That's your interpretation of that tweet. Never
what did
said
you mean by
her.
that?
But she probably will because she writes songs about her exes.
John, you brought up Taylor Swift 2 weeks ago, and you said you do not like her.
I don't like her music. No, I don't.
John,
okay, sorry. Let me adapt what I said. John does not like Taylor Swift or her music. He doesn't hate her. Hates a strong
I never met
word.
her. Can't say I don't like her. Never met her.
Do you like her? Would you go to her concert?
No, I don't like her music. Why would I go to her concert?
John doesn't like Taylor Swift music.
Yeah, I think you actually hate Taylor Swift more than you hate BTS, and you said you really hated BTS.
What's BTS?
And Selena Gomez. It's so weird. You just don't like.
I love Selena Gomez. Are you kidding me?
I'm just trying to find all the rabid fan bases I can. Like,
bring them on. I've
After
dealt
what
with
you
the
said
worst
about Ninja and PewDiePie, I don't know, man. Just like,
I'm sure she's a wonderful person. Yeah.
If anybody wants to talk with me, you can find me on social media at Myra Trunks.
Yeah, right on. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll be back on Monday with another episode. So we hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next time right here on the Resistance broadcast. See you around, kids.